Yo, 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 what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix, and this is going to be your weekly astrology horoscope, this week's iteration of Cosmic Convergence. And this one we're going to be covering today, Wednesday, August 21st to Tuesday, August 27th. So, yes, we have a good bit to talk about in this video. Definitely an interesting week. I would say the energy is a little less intense from the previous weeks, but we are still kind of prepping and getting ready for the rest of this year, essentially. So even though the energy may not be as intense as it has been, we're still going to be feeling it. There's still going to be a lot of changes, and especially now that we're going to be coming into Virgo season, this is the season where we learn to adapt. So, like I said, this is your weekly astrology horoscope for August 21st through the 27th of 2024. I am Jay Phoenix, and let's talk a little bit about this week, shall we? So, well, Leo season's coming to an end. Today's actually the last full day of Leo season. Then the sun's going to come into Virgo, and as soon as it comes into Virgo, of course, it's going to make a quincunx over to Pluto. We also are going to see the moon in Taurus trine over to the sun in a nice aspect. And then we'll also, of course, have a third quarter square when the moon goes into Gemini, towards the end of this 7-day period, right? We also have Venus and Mars that are kind of traveling at very similar speeds. They're going to square each other this week. And amongst that, we have a kind of like a host of different trines and sextiles and stuff, but nothing like super, super intense. So, like I said, this is the sort of week that kind of lulls you a little bit into like a false sense of security, having us believe that things are going to just kind of chill out, when really it's anything but that. This is more like the preparation for what is to come. And especially coming off a rather intense full moon in Aquarius, I'm sure you all could feel that full moon, that there's definitely been some shifts in like mentally in the mental paradigms of people. People are either really are going to be following their heart, or they're going to be following the crowd. It's one or the other. They're going to follow their heart, follow their intuition, follow where they know is right, or they're going to just follow the crowd because it's trendy and popular and they don't want to be ostracized from the group, right? This is going to be a time where it's going to test whether or not you are, I won't even say a black sheep. You can be whatever color sheep you want. But, because it doesn't even really matter at this point. I feel like that's, people will say like, oh, I'm the black sheep of my family, or whatever like that. I'm like, shoot, these days, it's not necessarily about color. It's not necessarily about race. It's not necessarily about gender. It's about those that control the means of production, those that have the power as far as that stuff goes, those that can wave their finger and alter entire industries and affect hundreds of thousands and even millions of people, versus those that can't quite do that. And the people that can actually have that kind of influence will use other people, and we will like to think that those people have that influence. These are our political, celebrities. These are our athletic celebrities. These are our music celebrities, our, movie celebrities, whatever celebrity you want to enter in. They may seem like they have influence, and to a certain degree when it comes to, I would say, just the cultural atmosphere. But ultimately, they're not the ones that are pulling the strings, right? And I feel like no one really wants to talk about this shit, especially here on YouTube. No one wants to talk about it. Like, very few people are talking about this stuff. And maybe they're afraid to talk about it. Now, I'll talk about it. Now, granted, my channel's kind of small, so I'm kind of a small fry. So it's like, I don't think they would really bother with my ass. But it's like I look out in the world, and all I see is division and fighting. And I'm just like, y'all do realize that y'all have much more in common with each other than not, right? Like, I wonder if people realize that, But like I said, this full moon in Aquarius was a big one. It was about whether or not we were going to release the fear of truly going our own way. Because Aquarius is an interesting energy. It simultaneously rules the rebellious energy, but it also rules the collective energy. It rules cultish, behaviors as well, especially when it comes to ideas. Those are the things that it rules, right? So it's kind of a weird dichotomy to have both of those things. So there is a lot of people out there that are quite frankly afraid to live on purpose, or people out there that are afraid to talk to people in person. There are people that are afraid to communicate to people in person. The fact that we have so many jokes, especially as millennials, about wanting to just stay at home and not go out and do shit, we laugh at it, but it's a symptom of a deeper issue. That we are unable, in many ways, to connect to each other on a deeper level. Why? Because we have allowed certain groups of people and certain entities to infiltrate our minds and our hearts, and to tell us that we have so many differences that they're irreconcilable. We can't get over them. There's nothing we can do. There's no middle ground, right? There's no way we can be halfway. There's no way that we can get along just because we have this thing that we may have that's not in common with each other. You can check off all the other boxes, but that one box could be the thing that makes the difference in these relationships. So it's like, that's one of the biggest problems, and that's the biggest psyop right now. That is the biggest illusion right now, is that the people that you think is your enemy is not actually your enemy. It's your brother and sister in arms, fighting alongside you, but you are confused and deluded into believing that they are not. And that's the biggest issue here. Because they have to rev up the anesthesia right now. Why? Because their tower of cards is collapsing. It's collapsing for a multitude of reasons. Pluto in Capricorn finishing up, and then it'll go back into Aquarius fully, but that's part of it, right? That's why we have to go back into the Pluto world, right? That's why we have to go back into Capricorn world for a little bit. We gotta remember that Pluto's going into underworld. It's south in declination. It's way south in declination. Like, if we were to think of the planets move around. So let's just say that this Pokeball, right? Right, is the sun, right? And all of the planets are doing this, right? Pluto's orbit does this. It goes down, right? So where a lot of the other planets do this, or they're relatively, parallel to the sun, Pluto does this motion. So it actually goes down, right? It goes down. Pluto right now is way down here. It's way south in declination, so it's in the underworld. We got to think about that. So if Pluto is in the underworld, right, and it is at the edge of Aquarius and Capricorn, what does that tell you about these particular degrees? Especially considering all the things that we have been going through, especially considering the fact that America's Pluto return we're experiencing, right? Considering the fact, that means that Pluto probably doesn't really like to be in Aquarius. So probably rather be up here. Because right down here, it's been sort of outcast, if you will, right? And that's kind of the interesting thing about it. I've been going back and forth on whether Pluto is exalted in Aquarius, wherever it falls in it. Yeah, probably falls in Aquarius. So Pluto's in its fall position. I know some astrologers probably, go back and forth on which one is it. Is it in fall? Is it in exaltation and stuff? And different astrologers probably, argue over what that is exactly. I guess you can say that since Pluto does rule the underworld and it's in the underworld, that it will be in its home place. But at the same time, I feel like Pluto probably would prefer to be actually above the sun, if anything. So, because if we think about Pluto being in the underworld and it got cast down there, it depends on the way, I guess, that you look at it. But if we think that Pluto was cast down to the underworld, whatever like that, but it meant to be, in heaven, so to speak, or Leo, right? That's probably where it would prefer to be. It's above, but it's below. So this whole area, the last few degrees of, Capricorn and those first few degrees of Aquarius, where I happen to have my sun. Saturn, excuse me. Saturn. I have Saturn at 1 degree of Aquarius. So I've been feeling this oscillation. Pluto's been oscillating over my Saturn, and Neptune's been oscillating over my moon. So I've been getting hit from both angles, from these rather intense, emotional, watery planets. Yes, it's been kind of wild. But it makes sense that people are confused. It makes sense that people feel like they're at the edge of their rope. It would make sense that people feel like they can't control different aspects of their life because, Capricorn is all about control, and Pluto is coming in like a wrecking ball and is destroying the control. For everybody, doesn't matter how much power or influence you have, everybody is losing some control here. And we kind of have to, let Jesus take the wheel, if you will, or whatever entity you want to enter into that equation. But that's just kind of where we are right now. We are in very powerful times, and this week is no different. Now, like I said, this week is going to be an interesting one because it kind of slacks off as far as energy. I would say it's not as intense as some of these previous weeks that we've had. So we do kind of catch a breather, and it's good. I've noticed as I've been studying astrology and doing these videos and looking at this stuff day to day, week to week, I noticed that you'll get a couple of intense weeks, and then you'll get a week that's a breather. So it's just know that the breather is here. That's not to say that there's not going to be some challenging things that happen, but God gives us breathers from time to time. So this is an opportunity for us to take a breather. Now, ironically, of course, when the sun goes into Virgo, that's kind of when we put in some work, though, ironically. And I think that's the way that we take a breather. Maybe we're taking a breather from all of the drama, all of the delusion, all of the excitement, all of just the obsession of being absorbed into these weird cultural, mind-numbing echo chambers that try to pull us in one direction or another, trying to get us to have an opinion on every little thing. We have to have an opinion on every little thing, every single story that comes out, every freaking people that, all the celebrities that get divorces, that they get together, or every political rally, or everything. We have to have an opinion on everything. That can be exhausting, to have an opinion on literally everything, but that's what the internet will like to have you believe, or people on the internet would like to have you believe, that you have to have an opinion on everything, on everything, on everything. Maybe we just need to take a step back from all that craziness and focus on the reality, our day-to-day reality. And that is what this week reminds us. This is the start of Act 2, the training arc is what I'm going to call it. As you can see, our young hero is growing up a little bit. This dragon is growing up. He's out in the field. You know how many times it took for me to get this image, y'all? It took me quite a bit to get this image. This is the best image. And you guys probably can't see it, but this dragon technically has 2 tails, but the letters kind of block it off. And it's funny that I'm just telling you straight up, but because I could have just not said anything and hit it, but actually I think it's kind of obvious. You see that tail, and then there's one right there too. But this is our man. He's out there in the field. He's a little bit grown, as you can see with some of his features. They're a little bit sharper and stuff, and he has a serious look. And this dragon's kind of grown up as well. We can see they're out in the field, and they are training. And I'm calling Virgo the training arc. Why? Well, because Virgo is where it is where we put in the work. It is the day-to-day reality. It's the service that we provide to others, and it is where we establish our habits in many ways. The sixth house is the house of habits. So we are going into Leo season was where like the main character kind of pops onto the scene, makes himself known, and some interesting, fun things happen, right? Virgo is when, fast forward, they're training, they're a little bit older, they're a little bit more mature, and it may not be all glamorous all the time, but that's where we are. Libra season will be a whole different arc, of course. That's going to be definitely involving a lot more of these interpersonal relationships, if you will. And the Scorpio, of course, is secrets getting revealed, the big boss battles, and then we'll go into the final. But this is where we are. Act 2, Virgo season, the training arc. And I know I'm using kind of like anime like references and stuff. And I know a lot of y'all might not necessarily be into anime and stuff like that, but hopefully you guys will be able to get my references and stuff like that, and hopefully I can make it make sense for you guys. So yeah, training. What are you training in? I think we all could be training in multiple different things. Maybe training in your job. Maybe you get a new job. Maybe you learn some new skills. Maybe you hone down on some skills that you already have. Maybe you pick up something that you put down a while ago and you decide to put much more energy into it. Maybe you take a hobby and turn it into a job, or you try to make money off of it. Whatever it is, we are in training mode, and I don't think it's just going to be one thing that we're going to be training. I think we all probably have a couple different things that we want to work on. This is the time to do it. Virgo season is the time to get started. And if you take these 30 days and you put in that hard work and effort, and even if it's just one little thing here and there, you don't have to do everything in one day. I always say that. But this is the work that no one sees. It's not glamorous. It's not super exciting. That's the interesting thing about Virgo is that it is the 12th house to Libra. Libra is more polished, but Virgo, behind the scenes, people don't see all of the work that goes into being presentable. People do not see all of the blood, sweat, and tears, the sacrifice that goes into being polished. So this is the season right now where that work, putting in that work, is going to yield us the best results. So let's go ahead and hop into the actual charts. So as of right now, at the time of me filming this, I have this moon at 28 degrees of Pisces, which happens to be my moon degree. Cheers. That is my natal moon degree, 28 degrees of Pisces. Now, do you see what I'm seeing? Do you see the moon with Neptune making a nice little quincunx over to the sun at 29 degrees? That is the main aspect of the day, and then of course that moon will shift into Aries. And it's interesting just how tight this orb is. 2918, 2919. It is so tight. So close. And I talked about this briefly, of course, in my daily astrology horoscope. Go ahead and check that out too if you guys want to. But being that this is such an edgy energy, and considering the fact that now the sun is involved in this yod. Yes, the yod that we saw Mercury hit, the yod that we saw Venus hit, the yod that we saw Mercury hit again, and now we are seeing the sun hit this spot. So clearly there's something going on between 29 degrees of Leo and 0 to 1 degrees of Virgo. Something's going on here. And I think it's interesting too how the fixed star Regulus, of course, of the 4 royal stars, recently did ingress into Virgo, and is at 0 degrees, which by recently I mean that was like what, 2012, I believe. So if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that that was 2012. So 2012, yeah, it was 2012 was when that happened. And it's kind of interesting too that Regulus shifted right before the sun got to that spot too. But anyways, so now we have another finger of God, golden moment here, where everything is kind of pointing to this Pluto and the moon with Neptune are sextile to each other, pointing over to this sun Regulus right here, right? And what is Regulus? It's the heart of the lion, right? Let me pull that up. Let's see, Regulus. Did I spell it wrong? Do, 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 do. Let's see. Hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. Just so we can just talk a little bit about this, because I think it's really, really important, because this is where the universe, this is what God is pointing us to really pay attention to. And it's happened multiple times, like I said, with Mercury on the first pass, Venus, Mercury on its second pass, and then the sun. And Mercury will hit it again. So we're getting 5 major aspects to this energy, right? So if I go right here, and I go right there, and then I go over here, and then I go, where am I going to? No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted a different. Hold on, I'm trying to find the right thing. That's astral. Anyways, I can just read it to you guys. That doesn't really bother me, so I'll just read it to you guys. Oh, that's why I had it on the wrong thing. Duh. Yeah. Just so y'all can read it and stuff. Traditional name Regulus is Latin for prince or little king. It's the heart of the lion. Chinese, the 14th star of the yellow emperor. Blah, 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 blah. Regulus said to be of Mars and Jupiter. Of course, those 2 planets are in Gemini right now. So, let's see. Regulus is one of the most fortunate stars in the heavens. It portends glories, riches, and power to all born under its influence. It's one of the royal stars, of course. Boom, boom. In any event, of course, right now we do have the sun conjunct Regulus. I wonder if it'll show it in here. It's just showing other different aspects like Mercury and stuff. Honorable, just popular generosity abused by opponents, fame gained through high position. That's if Mercury, that's if Mars, blah, 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 0 degrees. Sun conjunct Mars, conjunct Regulus. Oh, I guess it's just showing different things as far as it goes. But the main thing that you guys need to know about this is that since this is one of the royal stars that we follow, and it's called the heart of the lion, it's talking about how we need to all have a heart of a lion. We need to be in that place more than ever right now. Because it's at such a, like I said, it's right here at the edge of Leo going into Virgo, right? That this is a pretty big moment for humanity and something that we really need to be paying attention to, right? What if I could, what if it will show other stuff? Yeah. Known as the heart of the lion, one of the most powerful fixed stars in astrology. Its placement in your chart can greatly influence your personality traits, blah, 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 blah. Associated with courage, nobility, and favor. Yeah. Any event. Let me get back to the actual... You guys kind of get the point. Anyways, but... I do think it's something to consider. Now, because this is a quincunx, it's going to make things awkward. And because the moon is with Neptune, that's what we're really going to be feeling. So we're going to be feeling more the confusion, the fog, the weirdness of a world with Neptune at the last degree of the zodiac. So if Neptune is like the Wizard of Oz and is hiding what's behind it and is at 29 degrees, that means every single degree is that means that the curtain, right, is like right here. And that we are all of this right here is essentially in some sort of illusion, or is not exactly as it seems to be. Once Neptune goes into Aries, everything will kind of shift, if you will. But it's a very odd and weird moment here. It's why people are freaking out. That's why mental health is such a big issue right now. Because whenever the moon comes into the spot, the veil is already super thin. And then, of course, with Neptune here, it's mega thin. So you're just going to feel things a lot deeper, a lot more. And because, like I said, this is a quincunx and it's awkward. So the most awkward thing to do right now, or the most awkward feeling thing to do right now, is to actually be your authentic raw self with that sun in Leo. Is to also see yourself as royalty, in a sense. And to hold this high self-esteem. High self-esteem is actually awkward feeling right now. Why? Because we've been made to feel that having high self-esteem is automatically equated to arrogance. It's automatically equated to thinking that you're better than like everyone else around you. It's automatically equated to you taking advantage of everyone around you. So they want everyone to be humble and the same and demure. Godly, that word. Everyone wants people to be those things. When God is like, no, be bold, be courageous, be a little bit brash, be exciting, be colorful, be proud, right? Get out there, do stuff, meet people. That is where everything's pointing to. But people want to be like, no, I'd rather just not do anything and just only talk to people on the internet or through the internet and not actually meet people in person and go back and shelter in place and be afraid and do all this sort of stuff, whatever. Be afraid of every little thing. Be afraid of every little thing. And that's the thing. People are so caught up in their comforts right now. People are so wrapped up in their comforts. And at the moment where it just gets a little bit uncomfortable, people freak out. People freak out the moment that's just a little bit uncomfortable. I'm about to say something very Plutonian. Newsflash, we're all going to die one day, okay? We're all going to die one day. So we need to just live your life and stop sitting on the sidelines. Because that's what they want you to do. They want you to sit on the sidelines. They want you to live in like a 200 square foot metal box and eat bugs and be in the fucking virtual world all day and never actually have human to human connection, interaction, companionship, love, meaningfulness, purpose. No. People want to escape this world that is so beautiful. And we forget how beautiful this world is. People, they want us to not realize that, to not see that, to not experience that. Who's to say that we aren't already in a virtual world because we couldn't handle the world as it was, so we all now are in some sort of weird virtual simulation and we aren't actually really connecting to each other. We're just This is all just a dream that we've sort of created, and every person that you see is a figment of your own imagination, whatever like that. Who's to say that we're not already in the simulation like that? Because we wasn't able to connect and we couldn't deal with people, so we had to create an entire universe to put ourselves into. Who's to say that that's not already happening? Food for thought. I will say the way that you break out of that matrix and break the programming is to be bold, to be courageous, to be brave, to be colorful, to be proud, to love yourself out loud. Love yourself out loud. That's what Leo does. Leo loves itself out loud more than any other sign. That's why it's Leo. Not that other signs can't have self-love, but no one loves themselves out loud like Leo. Not to say that Leos can't be self-deprecating, or people that have Leo may have issues with self-acceptance and self-love, because they can't. We all do, right? From time to time. But as far as loving yourself out loud, no one does it better than Leo. And everyone gets annoyed by it. And yet that's where God is telling us to go. That's what God's telling us to pay attention to. Yeah, we may be feeling this pressure with this moon, with Neptune, sextile and Pluto. But God is saying, like, hey, yo, look over here. Hey, yo, look over here. I want to show you something. What is it, God? Oh, that's me. Yeah, it's a reflection. It's you. It's like, oh, I thought you said you had something cool to show me. You are cool. What the fuck are you talking about? You're here. You're breathing. You're alive. You have opportunity. You have creativity. Right? Fuck. Go for it. Well, what if I fail? Fuck it. You probably will fail. We all fail. It's probably better to fail 100 times than to fail once and be so afraid to try again because you failed once. Whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in jobs, whether it's in whatever craft that you want to do. Like for me, it's like writing books. You know how many times I failed at writing a book? You know how many times I'm still constantly coming up with an idea for another book and being very creative and writing down different ideas and writing out different character profiles and shit like that? You know how many times I failed? You know how many times I keep going at it anyways? Because I know that one day I will write that book. I'd rather fail 1,000 times than fail once and be afraid to ever do it again. That's where we are right now. And that comes to everything. That even comes to the way that we organize our society and politics. Maybe we are so afraid, especially here in this country, in many ways, to start over. To realize that, yeah, we might have had a great jumping spot and a platform for how we built this country, or how the forefathers built this country, or whatever like that, or the people back then built the country. That we are afraid to fail if we don't make some sort of change or alteration, because this does involve Virgo. It's not just fixed fire, it's mutable earth, which is still, let's say it's a mutable sign, so it's adaptable, but it's Virgo, so it's the change over time. It's not the change that we see immediately. It is, in many ways, the behind the scenes. It is the 12th house to the polished Libra. It is the work and the hours that we put in that people do not see. It's not always fun, but that doesn't mean that's not worth it. I call Virgos the fairies of the zodiac. They're the fairies of the zodiac. What do fairies do? Like, if we're just thinking like esoterically, I'm about to just let y'all know some information. Fairies help pollinate plants and help keep plants pollinated. They help the trees grow. They are nature spirits, so they're very much so connected with nature, especially plants and trees and such. So they are part of the reason. It's not just bees and butterflies and other sort of stuff that help pollinate. Fairies do a lot of the work too. We just don't see them because they oscillate at a different frequency, so we can't see them. But that's what fairies do. But it's, once again, they do so much of the work that is unseen that we don't even fucking realize. They're part of what keeps flowers color and pigment and hue and how beautiful they are and the aroma. Fairies do a lot of that shit, but we just don't see them. And a lot of times also Virgo a lot of times feels very unseen because they do a lot of the legwork, a lot of the hard work, but they don't really ever get the credit. Libra does. Or everyone focuses on Leo, where they're like stuck between those two. But they put in a lot of work and a lot of the effort. But a lot of times they don't necessarily get the praise that they deserve. You have to find a way to keep going even if you're not getting the praise you feel like you deserve. Because I feel like there are some people that want to pull back right now. Or just in general. This could be just in general life. But some people will pull back just because they're not getting praise. And then they stop putting in the hard work. And then nothing really changes. It can be frustrating, of course, to put in all the hard work and the effort and stuff like that. And for there to be delays when it comes to the recognition or the praise that you may get. That can be very frustrating. And that's something that Virgo has to deal with. Then talk to a Virgo. If you are a Virgo, where you have a Sun Virgo, Moon, Rising, I would say even like Mars there, Venus definitely when it comes to relationships, right? Mercury when it comes to communication. They always have to play the waiting game to get the recognition that they feel like they deserve. And even sometimes when they get the recognition, they still almost sort of like, you still don't really get it. You still don't realize just how much I put into this. But Virgo sometimes just do it just because. Because I think they appreciate looking at the hard work that they've done and they admire it. They take pride in their work. That's the good thing about a Virgo. They take pride in their work. And if it's not up to their standard, this is why they're called perfectionists. If it's not up to their standard, then they can get a little nitpicky, a little bit analytical and stuff. That's why Virgos can be a little bit nitpicky and analytical, because they want it to be the best it could possibly be. And because they also know that no one's... That's the thing about Virgo. One of Virgo's mottos is like, I might as well just do it myself, because nobody can do it better than me. That's like one of Virgo's mottos. I might as well do it myself, because no one can do it better than me. Now, we have to learn... Now, the thing with Virgo, though, is that we do have to learn how to accept help from other people, and that we don't have to do everything on our own, and we can be a little less critical and a little less nitpicky, right? But that's just kind of how Virgo is, right? Like I said, I call them the fairies of the zodiac because they do a lot of the unseen work to keep our world beautiful. So, now... So that's pretty much Wednesday as far as that goes. We'll see that moon come into Aries, right? And then we will see, of course, going into the 22nd, this is going to be the day where we actually start to see Venus and Mars start their square. Now they're not going to square exactly today, or it'll be like later on in the day, but they start to square here. This is also, of course, when the sun does enter into Virgo here on Thursday. You'll see that happen around 10:56 a.m. We'll see this happen. Venus, of course, at 21:30, Mars at 21:48, so they will be in square with each other all throughout the day. We also will see Mercury begin to make a nice little trine over to Chiron. So we do have some nice aspects here in the midst of some pretty intense ones. Of course, whenever the sun shifts signs, it does make for some intense energy, especially considering the fact that it's in quincunx to Pluto at this time. But it's still continuing that yod, and it will be conjunct the fixed star Regulus too. So there is sort of a royal kind of like energy to August 22nd. But with Venus and Virgo, it definitely can feel kind of difficult to kind of continue to put in the work because maybe we are feeling a little bit uncomfortable, and we have to kind of just, Mars and Gemini is sort of like we have to have a little bit more of a resilient mindset when it comes to this. We kind of have to just go for it. It's almost sort of like a fuck it kind of attitude. Mars and Gemini square Venus and Virgo is like, I know I'm not feeling very comfortable right now, but fuck it, let's go. And yeah, Mercury retrograde in Leo, trining Chiron in Aries will help us to maybe even think differently about it. It's like, okay, maybe this isn't exactly the way I saw it going, but you know, I can make it. I can make this fun. I can make this work out. And Chiron's like, yeah, maybe a bit of an awkward situation here, but that's just the reality of it and stuff. I can make this work out, and let me just be raw and just go for it and be me. That's what it comes down to on this Thursday. So I think Thursday will be a great opportunity for us to be inspired, if anything, to put our best foot forward, even if we feel like we're not necessarily in the best. Like, it's like we don't have to, you don't have to be in the best energy or the best space or the perfect energy to do anything. You don't have to wait for the right moment. The right moment is now. I think, if anything, with Thursday, like on this day, is you don't have to wait for the perfect moment to move. You do not have to wait for the perfect moment to move. There's not going to really be a perfect moment. And if there's anything that this day will teach us, is that the perfect moment is now. It's right now. It's right now. So even if we feel like there's been a delay, even if we feel like we procrastinated, even if we feel like we waited, we can do something right now to make a difference. And that's all God wants. That's all God asks. Is to just do it now. Go for it now. Oh, but this thing's getting in the way. Okay, find a way. Or make a commitment. Or do something, or find another way. Do something different, you know? You don't have to sit in traffic. Or you could just sit in traffic and deal with it. But you can find another way. There's always another way. There's always another way. I think that's the beautiful thing about the Mercury trying to Chiron. It's like it's a mental paradigm shift. So, there's always another way. Same with the Mars square Venus. There is another way. It's possible. We can do it. We'll find it, right? And that's pretty much August 22nd. It's like the main thing that we have. We'll see, of course, that moon continue to move throughout Aries. It's going to conjunct, of course, the North Node. We will see it pretty much, we'll see it sextile over to Jupiter as well towards the end of the day. So that brings up some nice little opportunities, especially if we do take some action to expand upon that ideal and to expand upon that communication, so we can really move forward and, expand upon that positive mindset. And definitely, and I would say even commit to it. 1 + 7 is 8, and 8 is the number of Saturn. Of course, Saturn is at 17 degrees, so we have another one right there. So even a double whammy, where if we really do decide and do believe in ourselves and commit, then we can make some awesome positive things happen. And that'll be an awesome way to start off Virgo season, this training arc. Is that he's like, you know what, I know this is going to be difficult, but let's go for it anyways. Let's go for it. Let's swing for the fences. So, now going into Friday the 23rd, so I have my cat right here. We can see, of course, that this Venus and Mars are still, of course, in square to each other, but Venus will officially move past Mars as far as like the speed that it's moving at. And we will see this moon, it will conjunct Chiron early in the morning and join up, of course, with this trine to Mercury. So once again, the moon joins up with one planet that is in direct aspect to another planet, this time via a trine and not a quincunx. So if you can get through the awkwardness that is the moon on Neptune, making this aspect over to the sun and Regulus, if you can make it to this Friday, you'll be able to see, it's like, wow, that's some pretty cool, beautiful things that are happening here. And they are both, of course, in sextile to Mars. So it does provide a nice little confidence boost. Even with Venus still in square to Mars, it still provides a nice little confidence boost. That's like, I know things may be uncomfortable, I know things may be a little bit weird, but fuck it, I can make it through. I got this. And you'll find the relationships and you'll find the right people to help you along the way, because you're not alone in this, right? You're not alone. Now, we are going to, of course, see as this Friday progresses, we will see this moon make its shift into Taurus, right, at the end of the night. And of course, when it makes that shift into Taurus, it will immediately square Pluto at 0 degrees. But we also will get a trine to the sun. So it's nice. We get the trine to Mercury to start the day, and then we get the trine to the sun to end the day. And I think that that's actually very poetic because it's still kind of calling back to this whole point of the 2901 degrees right here of Leo and Virgo. And it's just going to give us an opportunity to hopefully ground some of these realizations and to ground some of these epiphanies that we have as far as, you know what, I really can be that amazing co-creative being. And, you know, I came here for a purpose. I came here for a reason. And I can fulfill those things. And I can live my life more on purpose. So, like I said, even though it is a fast aspect, you know, it is an aspect that is going to bring with it some great power and some great healing. Whenever I see trines, I do think of healing energy. And I think we do need some healing, especially in these earth areas. So this can definitely deal with money, finances, self-worth, value, you know, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I really do. And I think it's something that we all need right now, you know. Um, so we'll see that on this time right here. And of course, by this time, Venus would have also been in quincunx to Chiron. So we do get some awkward stare from across the room to that Chiron energy. But yeah, it can make for things to be a little bit weird. You know, Venus is trying to get back home to Libra, but it's going to be dealing with the South Node yet again. And Venus has, you know, it's bad. It's, you know, hot girl summer got delayed, you know, when it went into Leo because the energy wasn't there. Now, then it went into Virgo into its fall position. So instead of just being the pearl and the clam like it would be in Pisces, it actually has to work and do stuff and actually look for the clams. And also, shoot, look through multiple clams. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing about it. It's like you can look through multiple clams, look at the pearls, but not all the pearls are the same color. Not all the pearls are perfectly round. You know? And that's the thing about it. Venus is trying to make like a necklace of pearls, and she actually has to go inside of every single clam and like pick out the pearls and then figure out which pearls actually look the best, whatever like that. And but even the pearls that are maybe a little bit misshapen, a little bit weird, I think that's what the whole quincunx to Chiron is. It's like, you know, maybe some of the pearls are a little bit shaped weird. That doesn't mean that they don't have value. Someone's gonna value it, right? Or maybe you don't do it for that. Maybe you're not trying to sell these pearls. Maybe the value is the fact that you put in the hard work and looked for them, and then you just made a necklace for yourself. Maybe that's where the value is. Not necessarily that you're trying to just make a quick buck. Maybe the value is the experience. Right? Maybe that's what it is, truly. So now going into Saturday, like I said, it's going to be mostly the moon making aspects. On this day, we will see Mars here make a sextile over to, well, it's sextiling Mercury. And then, of course, it's also going to be a sextile to Chiron on this day as well. When it hits 23 degrees, we'll see that. We'll also, of course, have the moon here in Taurus, exalted in Taurus, mind you. And it is heading towards, of course, the conjunction with Uranus, but it, of course, will square Mercury prior to that. So Saturday, like I said, energy is a little bit more chill, I would say. If anything, we still kind of just feel some energy that's kind of like waning. You know, this yod between the sun, Neptune, and Pluto, that's waning, if you will. You know, Mercury's at 22 degrees and trying to Chiron. That energy is kind of waning a little bit. The square between Venus and Mars, while you're still gonna feel it, it's waning. So we're coming. It's sort of, there's a bit of a decompression, like energy to this week and to this whole weekend, really. You know, so which is great. I think it's going to allow us some space to kind of like think over things and just kind of analyze kind of where we are right now and figure out, like, all right, what do I need to do to set myself up for success going forward, right? So, like I said, we'll see that Mars, that's going to be a nice sextile to Chiron. So, of course, this Mars is being disposited by this Chiron because, Mars is the ruler of Aries and that's where Chiron is. So, there can be some opportunities here, to, really, you know, take some initiation and sort of just act and, communicate and, connect with other individuals, even if it seems a little bit awkward and weird with the Chiron energy. This is about your unique superpowers. I haven't talked about Chiron being like your unique superpowers, but I still feel like Chiron is the key to your unique superpowers. And being that that's Mars and that's that, kind of that raw warlike kind of energy, warrior energy. So this could be a nice little moment where it's just like you kind of acknowledge your uniqueness, your unique superpowers, and just even though I said like Chiron, it does in many ways deal with our traumas and stuff too, but it is through our traumas that we grow and that we can grow if we can acknowledge them and work through them and not allow those traumas to lord over our lives. Then they can actually become powerful seeds from which we can create, from which we can find those superpowers, you know? So this will be a nice little opportunity between Mars and Chiron to do just that. And it does help that Mercury is involved in here. So it's all about your mindset. It's all about your attitude. And, that's pretty much the basis of it. It's all about your mindset and it's all about your attitude. And that moon here, of course, in Taurus is going to be enshrined here to the Black Moon Lilith during this moment. So, it's helping us to ground things, even if we may have some fears around what that may look like on a day-to-day basis. We can, we don't have to like overly attach and be super worried about the what ifs and just projecting. Just do it. Sometimes we spend so much time in our heads, and trust me, I'm a freaking Pisces moon, right? And I'm a Sag rising, so I spend a lot of time daydreaming. But sometimes we spend so much time daydreaming that we forget to live. Right? So sometimes we do that. And of course, going into Sunday, like I said, as you can see, that's going to be a day where it's really just going to be the moon making aspects. We'll see the moon. It's going to square Mercury. So once again, we do have another square, although we won't feel it for too long, which is kind of nice. So this can give us an opportunity, of course, for that moon in Taurus to kind of, like I said, get grounded in some sort of stability, something that we find of value and worth it. And of course, with Mercury in Leo, going back to the drawing board and how we need to think more like a Leo, learning how can I integrate that more, and how can I find some security and some groundedness when it comes to that? How can I, think more positively? How can I find laughter? How can I find the fun in things? And how can I ground that energy, if you will? So, although I would say if you are not very grounded with this, especially considering the proximity of this moon to Uranus, this could cause some weird conversations that may come out of nowhere, that may just kind of seem off, and maybe even just, like I said, kind of boisterous, out of place. And that's kind of the energy that kind of gives me. We will, of course, see this moon also make a beautiful trine over to Venus. Once again, of course, another healing moment, giving us an opportunity to ground a lot of these practices that we are developing with this Venus in Virgo, or at the very least the realizations, and realize that there is a lot of value that comes from doing that day-to-day work that is Virgo, and from doing that service to each other, to the world. I would say service to the world and humanity is more like Aquarius, but Virgo is sort of like your day-to-day reality, if you will. We'll see that. And then, of course, that moon will conjunct Uranus here at the tail end of the day on Sunday, and we will see it shift into Gemini going into Monday. Now, Monday the 26th is where we are going to see that third quarter square. This one's going to be happening at 3 degrees of Gemini, very early in the morning here, 5:56, or around 5:56 or so. Eastern Standard Time, a.m. So in Europe, this will be like your late morning, if you will, since you guys are like 5-6 hours ahead of us. So this will be like your late morning, early afternoon. And I think this is going to definitely be an interesting one here. I think 3 degrees Gemini, 3 is Jupiter energy. And of course, being all these energies are dispositing this Mercury retrograde that's in Leo, and Jupiter's here, Mars is there, so it could definitely make things kind of explosive, but at least it's far enough away to where it's not going to be that crazy or that intense. I do think it's interesting that at the very least, Gemini and Virgo are both ruled by Mercury, so there is some understanding between this moon and the sun. They're just coming at it from slightly different angles. Gemini likes things a little bit more fast paced and is rather impatient. Virgo is a little bit more patient, but still kind of impatient, but it's coming from a more earthly standpoint. And it's like Gemini, if you were to give them like a task to do, and you gave Gemini like the task to like sweep or to mop, Gemini would roll their eyes so hard, like do like 1 or 2 sweeps and be done. And Virgo, who also laments over sweeping and mopping too, will roll their eyes even harder than Gemini, but they'll still do the whole thing. Gemini will quit halfway through because they just don't want to do it, right? Virgo will do it and will like bitch and moan and complain the entire time. So it's just kind of how it is, though, right? So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, this is happening like really early in the day, so it's not going to be like, I guess, the most prevalent like throughout the day, I would say. So we can read 3 degrees of Virgo, or 3 degrees of Virgo. Maybe I need to read 3 degrees of Virgo because I keep talking about that. So I was going to read 3 degrees of Gemini because of the moon. But you know what? I'm going to read 3 degrees of Virgo because I'm going to just follow my intuition on that one and just see what actually comes up. So, we're going to read it together. So I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to come over here. Go to properties, go to here, go right here. That way you guys can see everything. Black and white children playing happily together. This symbol shows the integration of people of different races, religions, economic status, or places. You may find people from different or seemingly different disparate or separate areas coming into your life, making it richer, more rewarding, and interesting. Prejudice of any kind, whether religious or race-based, economic or class system, is an illusion based on social perception and excludes people that could add to our lives. Didn't I just say that at the I pretty much said this at the beginning of this. I said that the people that you feel like are your enemies are not actually your enemies. And that all of these different divisions that we have are just illusions. I just said this at the beginning. Social perceptions can color how we see others, and these need to be put aside. Rather, it's about embracing brotherhood and caring. The integration, acceptance, and enjoyment of all people brings depth and meaning to life. Universal brotherhood, overcoming prejudices and boundaries, knocking down social boundaries that separate people, accepting people from anywhere, affirmative action. Acting with morality that is swayed by public opinion. Oh boy, was that a full moon in Aquarius. Not being able to adjust psychologically to situations that require creative responses. Racial prejudice. Well, maybe we see some... God, I would hate to see something racial come up on this day. I hate to see something pop up in the news of some racial injustice that comes up, and for that to be used to further pit us against each other when really we're not each other's enemies. And because we're not each other's enemies, we're all in this together, and this Neptune, and I think that's a part of the thing with the Neptune and Pisces is that I think people can. It's like you can feel it more than ever, especially when the moon ever comes to the spot. You can feel other people's emotions probably more than ever. Like everyone right now feels more of what water signs feel on the day to day, right? Or from the jump. Like when Neptune goes into Aries, water signs are still gonna be dealing with this shit. We're still gonna be dealing with feeling other people's emotions. Like the rest of y'all are gonna get a break from it until like unless the moon's just in that spot. But like now y'all are feeling what we feel, you know, especially Pisces and especially 12th housers, right? If you have a prominent planet in the 12th house, like you get this energy too. So it's an illusion. Race, religion, economic class systems. Well, I would say that's the main one where it's like, even in that aspect, it's like, even the people that we hate that may have millions of dollars, I feel like the people that are actually controlling shit, we don't know who they are. So they're not on TV, they're not in political rallies, they're not trying to become president and shit like that. None of that. But they'll have us think that those are the people that are trying to just lord over and control our lives and stuff like that, not realizing that they are also puppets, the people that we think are out to get us. They are also puppets. We realize as like, hey, shit, we don't want to be puppets in their game. Let's fucking cut the strings or run off and do our own fucking thing and have our own fun. You know, we're blackjack and hookers. And there was a reason I was supposed to read 3 Degrees of Virgo. Clearly a reason I was supposed to read that. So now that's pretty much all that happens on the 26th Monday. Like I said, this is that week where we get a little bit of a breather, you know? I mean, we'll see the moon just continue throughout. It'll square Black Moon Lilith. You know, Venus is at 26 degrees, and it's getting ready to oppose Neptune, so that energy is building. It's also getting ready to trine Uranus, which is going to be Tuesday aspect. But you'll see even as we move into Tuesday, yeah, we'll see that 27 degrees, and that happens a little bit earlier in the day, but we'll still feel it throughout the day. This is happening as the moon is getting close to Jupiter, and of course the moon actually will conjunct Jupiter while Venus is still in trine to Uranus. So, like I said, and this is kind of interesting too because there's an interesting kind of like camaraderie between this Venus and Uranus because Uranus is in fall, Venus is in fall, so it's like, and the moon is it was with Jupiter, and Jupiter is in tight quarters in Gemini and doesn't really feel super comfortable. So this is sort of like that moment where you're kind of in the trenches with someone that and it's Uranus too, so it does deal in many ways with like the masses and different people, and it's going to deal with different values and all this sort of stuff. This is that moment where you kind of look at the other person coming off of this, you know, third quarter square. You look at someone that may be very different from you and be like, wow, you know, you're kind of going through it. I'm kind of going through it. You know what? How about we combine forces and we do awesome shit? That sounds cool. Let's do that. You know, that's the kind of energy that this Venus trine Uranus and moon on Jupiter is. It's like, you're kind of going through it, I'm kind of going through it, but instead of just wallowing in our sorrow, let's do some cool shit, because Jupiter doesn't want to just sit around and not do anything. Just because Jupiter is uncomfortable in Gemini doesn't mean that it's not going to still turn up. It's just got to turn up a little bit differently. Doesn't mean it's not going to turn up. So that's kind of the way that we have to look at it. That's the way that we kind of have to look at it. And not just, like, we can relate to other people through our disappointments and our sorrow and our sadness and our uncomfortable things. We can. It helps us to empathize with each other. But let's also remember to relate to each other and connect to each other through our joy, through our happiness, through our exhilaration, through our exuberance, through the fervor, through purpose. Let's not forget that as well. Let's not forget that as well. Because that other person that you think is so different than you has somebody that loves them. They have a mom, they have a dad, whether they're in their life or not, but they have a mom and dad. They probably have siblings, or if not, they have a really good friend, or they have a pet, right? Virgo does rule pets too, so that's another interesting thing that we may see during Virgo season. We may see an interesting thing with pets. Would it be surprised you might even get a pet during this time, that could potentially happen here, right? But that person, has desires, they have wants, they have needs, right? They need to eat, they need to drink, they need to shit, they need to breathe, right? They need a place to lay their head down at night, they need companionship, they need purpose. They've been through disappointment, they've been through anguish, but they've also had joy and happiness and exuberance. Those feelings, that is what unites us. We have all the different memories that we can create with each other, or the different experiences, and even the experiences that we don't necessarily create with each other, that maybe someone has their own experiences, but those experiences still elicit the same emotions and the same energy. They might have went through something that was different than you, but it elicited still a happiness, a joy, an excitement, a complacency, bored, disgruntled, disappointment, anguish, anger, depression, anxiety, fun, laughter. Like, that is what unites us. The way that it's packaged, we can appreciate the packaging, we can relate in the packaging, we can create packaging memories together, of course. But when we look at someone that may seem so different from us and we're like, I can't relate to that person, yes you can. We speak two different languages, so that doesn't mean that you can't connect or understand that person. Language isn't always like this. It's not always like this. And we need to learn the language of these vibrations, of emotions, of these energies. We need to learn that language as well, because that is a language. Laughter is a language. Joy is a language. Everyone talks about the love languages, right? There are many different languages, right? We gotta learn those languages. And once we can break down those barriers, we'll be able to really connect to people in deeper, more meaningful ways. So we'll have this Venus trine Uranus. We'll see this moon, of course. It actually does square Saturn beforehand, too. So that actually does happen. And that is while Venus is actually in closer orb to the Uranus. But we'll see essentially the moon square Saturn, and then we'll see it conjunct Jupiter, and then by the end of the day, we'll see it conjunct Mars. And that's pretty much Tuesday. We'll see that moon come off and get ready to make a square over to Neptune. By this point, the sun will be at 5 degrees of Virgo. So, now, as you can see, there's not like a ton of crazy intense aspects happening. We have some squares. We have a yod, another important yard to start the week, We have some beautiful trines. We have a third quarter moon. And it does feel like the energy it gives us a little bit of a breather. It does feel like that. So utilize this time to analyze what you need to analyze. Utilize this time to kind of go back to the drawing board of what you need to go back to. Strategize. recalibrate, but still appreciate and love life. Realize that you are capable of much more than you realize, and that the recognition and the praise, maybe even that you are looking for, it's probably going to come from different places, random people, and also, most importantly, it's going to come from, I guess, it's going to come from your higher self, your inner child, these places, from God, and that isn't very tangible. We don't really see it. It's more felt. It's a language that's more felt. It's not really something that we can see tangibly. It's like I can do something on the internet, or I can make like a viral video and people comment it and like it and share it and subscribe and do all this sort of stuff or whatever. That's a little more tangible. You can see it and stuff, but you know the feeling. It's hard to put a word to it, but you know the feeling of the recognition that you get from God and your higher self or your inner child when you accomplish something that was aligned with your purpose. It's a surreal feeling, but I believe that we all have felt it at least once in our lives. But that is what we are going for. It's not the tangible praise or recognition that we were looking for. That can help only so much, but that's more like a dopamine hit. It's not really sustainable. What we're looking for is something that is much more meaningful and much more purpose driven. So we are in the training arc, and this lad right here, he is, working with his bow and arrow and stuff like that, and he has a dragon. They're going to meet up with other people and other dragons and stuff like that along their journey and stuff like that, but they are training. What are they training for? Who knows? I mean, we're kind of just flying by the seat of our pants with this allegorical story that is running parallel to Leo season, Virgo, Libra season, and Scorpio. So we'll see how this unfolds. And I think we kind of are in a time right now where it's like we can project and guess and hypothesize as much as we want. But the only thing that's really going to make us feel the best and feel the most comfortable, if you will, is by putting in the work, doing the hard work, and taking it day by day, appreciating the things that we have. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the big stuff. Is there something you can do about it? Yes, cool, then do something. Is there nothing you can do about it? Then don't worry. Don't let it plague and destroy your energy. Don't let it ruin your day. If you can't do something about it, don't let it ruin your day. So many people let things that they have absolutely no control over ruin their day. Did it truly negatively impacted you, or is it just the opinion that you have of something, or is it maybe even a feeling that you had about it that ruined your day? It didn't happen to you, but you let it ruin your day. Well, that's actually on you at that point. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but we are kind of in that energy right now where so many people are just afraid to live because they'll see something else happen like 1,000 miles away that doesn't actually affect them in their personal day-to-day reality. And sure, it may suck, but they'll let that one thing come between them and their relationships and come between them and their happiness. I think we can be inspired by the things that we see that don't affect us to take some action and to do something about it, or to better ourselves and to improve upon ourselves and challenge ourselves to become greater versions of ourselves. But I see so many people that instead of doing that, they just curl up in a ball and they say fuck the world, and they just want to hide from it because it's too scary and it's too much to deal with. So they rather just curl up in a ball and be like, nah, fuck it. And like, that's not the way. That's not the way. So Let's get into the cards. And of course, like I said, this is a general reading too for the whole collective. So take advantage of a week like this. The energy kind of chills a bit. We're getting a little bit of a breather this week. So take advantage of a week like this. We're getting a little bit of a breather. Oh, Eight of Pentacles just flew out. It's one of my favorite cards. This is the in the lab card, day-to-day reality. The work that you put in behind the scenes, the work that you put in that nobody sees, but that spirit up there sees it. So it's a little bit more intangible, right? Ooh, I have the Five of Pentacles. Yeah, don't fall into the trap of trying to live up to someone else's expectations of your life. Don't fall into the trap of, feeling like you have to control every aspect, or feeling like there's always someone out to get you or whatever. You still have the power to make some changes in your life. But yeah, do not fall victim and do not fall in the trap of feeling like you have absolutely no control. You have control over the way you feel. You have control over your mindset. There are other people out here, like some of the floating heads here, that do have power. They do have control. They do have a lot of money. They do have a lot of influence. They do control industries. And that does affect us. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to turn a blind eye to that. I'm not going to not accept that reality. But still, you don't want to fall into the trap of trying to live up to other people's expectations. You gotta do what's right for you. You gotta do what's best for you. And it's going to go counter to a lot of people's expectations. And it is what it is. So you know what happens when it goes against other people's expectations? You know what you do? You go into the Eight of Pentacles. You work. You dance. You do it anyways. Because eventually, it'll pay off, and people will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you made it. And then that's how overnight celebrities happen, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, where did this person came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. I put in freaking 10,000 hours. You thought this happened overnight? No. The Five of Pentacles here can also be dealing with, if you go to the beat of someone else's drum, you may just find yourself dancing to a song that you have no reason dancing to, that you're in no position dancing to. So don't dance to the beat of someone else's drum. And by that, I mean like their expectations and what they feel like is best. Now, you can join the drum circle. That'd be fun and stuff like that. Not everyone knows how to play drums, but you get what I'm trying to say. Go by the beat of your own drum. Don't fall victim and don't fall into this trap of trying to play someone else's tune when that tune doesn't even synchronize with what's in your heart. Woo! Those cards just kind of like popped. Hold on. See what else we got here for this week. Oh, I got the 10 of Wands in reverse. The 10 of Wands in reverse. Yeah, this can definitely speak to feeling like we have some sort of heavy load and feeling the need to let it go. I would say you have to pick and choose what loads you carry in life. I think there's always going to be a load to carry. You just got to make sure it's worth it. So you pick and choose what loads to carry. So maybe there are certain loads that you drop this week, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to pick up other loads. But yeah, we pick and choose what loads we carry, because there's always going to be something to carry, right? But might as well make it worth it. Might as well build something beautiful with it, right? I also have the World card too. So this does speak to a completion, a wrap-up of some sorts, if you will. I think we may see something interesting happen in the world this week, socio-politically. culturally, some sort of wrap up, if you will. I'll get one more card, just kind of involving that. I have the King of Pentacles, so this is going to deal with an individual that has quite a bit of influence. It could be an earth sign, but I just think it's going to be someone with a lot of money. So, someone with a lot of money. We may see some weird fluctuations in the stock market this week as well. Even though the energy does kind of slack off a little bit, we may see some interesting fluctuations as far as that goes. But definitely something interesting kind of happening more in like the socio-political aspects, culturally. Final card I have is the Two of Wands in reverse. I would say, you know, if you feel like you made the wrong decision or you took the wrong path, just know that it's never too late and you can choose differently. That's kind of the way that I see this. You know, we can choose differently. So I think it's like, be careful what you pick, be careful what you choose, and you know, that doesn't mean that you have to live. I'll give one more card too, but you don't have to live in fear of the choice that you made. You just have to commit right now to making a better choice for yourself, if you will. I have the Nine of Cups upright. And I love that this is the final card because this is speaking to a level of emotional intelligence where it's like, sure, you can connect and empathize with the world, but you also maintain an emotional sovereignty that disallows other energies or influences to come in and to wreck and disrupt your peace. That's what this card is saying. So focus on your peace. If there's ever a moment where things kind of feel a little bit too intense, remember to meditate so you can maintain your emotional sovereignty and not allow these external forces to come in and wreck and destroy your vibration. Connect with your soul family. Connect with your soul family. I love that. So maybe it's a good time to get out into nature, to hug a tree or something like that. But just, yeah, connecting with your soul family. If you can do it in person, even better. But that's really what this comes down to. I think it's gonna be one of those weeks where, like, since we all are kind of taking a breather, and you know the fireworks are kind of done, and it's just like we're just sort of like, whew, okay, that was wild. It's like, wait, what's your name again? Like, that's kind of the energy that it is. It's like, oh, you've been fighting beside me this whole time. Oh, what? So what do you do for a living? Oh shit. Okay, all right, I got you. All right, cool. All right. Oh wow, you believe in that too? Oh, that's cool. You like those sort of things? Okay, cool. What's your favorite Pokemon? Charizard? Okay, yeah, you're a basic bitch, but you know, it's okay, it's alright, it's alright. My favorite Pokemon's Scyther. Okay, it's Scyther, you know. Yeah, I know Charizard would beat Scyther in the battle, but not my Scyther. My Scyther is actually resistant to fire types because I trained my Scyther to be resistant to fire types. Anyways, it's sort of like that. So it's like, you know, connect with your soul family. I think that's a beautiful way to wrap this up. I will get one more card from the Simplest Oracle. This card continues to come up. Just laugh. I shuffled this deck. It just continues to come up. Just laugh. Just laugh. Remember to smile often, y'all. Anyways, that is going to do it for your weekly astrology horoscope. This cosmic convergence for August 21st through the 27th. I trust that this message will assist you on your journey this week and that you have a wonderful and amazing time with it. But y'all take care. Stay blessed. Have a wonderful week, y'all. I will see you all on the next daily tarot and astrology video. Peace.